I discovered that my father was hiding a dark past that shaped our entire lives, and I began my journey to uncover the truth, despite my family's desperate attempts to stop me. It all started on an ordinary afternoon. I was cleaning the attic, moving old boxes covered in dust and spider webs. Most of the stuff was boring: old clothes, broken toys, forgotten furniture. But then I noticed something strange. A wooden box, tucked far in the corner, almost hidden, behind a pile of junk. It was locked with an old rusty latch, and unlike the rest of the boxes, this one looked important. Curiosity took over. After struggling with it for a while, I managed to force it open. What I found inside froze me in place. There were faded photographs, stacks of yellowed letters, and official-looking documents that didn't belong in a normal family attic. My hands shook as I flipped through them. In one photo, I saw my father, as a young man, standing with a group of men I didn't recognize. Their expressions were hard, serious, and in the background was what looked like an abandoned building. Something about it felt secretive, almost dangerous. Among the letters, I found names I had never heard before, cryptic references to unfinished business, and even fragments of newspaper clippings about unsolved crimes and mysterious disappearances. And then there were numbers, bank accounts, transactions, things that looked completely out of place. I couldn't breathe. Could my father, the man I had looked up to all my life, really be connected to this? That night, I confronted him. I laid the documents on the table and asked him directly, "What is this? Who were you before us?" For a moment, his face went pale. Then his eyes hardened, colder than I had ever seen them. He leaned forward and said, in a voice I barely recognized, "Forget what you saw. Don't ever go looking again. Do you understand?" Me? It wasn't just a warning. It was a threat. I felt my stomach twist. He wasn't denying it. He wasn't even trying to explain. He just wanted me to stop asking questions. The next day, I went to my mother, hoping she would tell me the truth. But her reaction was even worse. She slammed her hand on the table and said sharply, "Some secrets should never be uncovered. If you love this family, you'll leave it alone." But how could I? How could I look at my father the same way again? Knowing he was hiding something so big, so dangerous, that no one wanted to talk about it, I couldn't let it go. I started digging. I researched the names from the letters, combed through old archives, tracked down every article connected to the events hinted at in those documents. And the more I searched, the more the pieces began to fit together. My father wasn't just an ordinary man with a few mistakes in his past. He was tied to people who had vanished, to crimes that were never solved, to a shadowy network that seemed to exist beneath the surface of our everyday life. And the scariest part? The deeper I went, the more I realized my family wasn't just protecting my father's past. They were protecting themselves from it. That was the moment I knew there was no turning back. After that night, I couldn't look at my father the same way. Every glance, every word he spoke, felt like it carried a hidden meaning. I began to notice small details I had ignored all my life. The way he always sat facing the door in restaurants, how he never trusted neighbors, how he locked away documents in drawers that we weren't allowed to touch. The attic box had opened a door that could never be shut. I spent hours in front of my laptop, digging through online archives. Some of the names from the letters matched old police reports. One name in particular stood out: David K., a man who had been declared missing in the late 80s under mysterious circumstances. In the articles I found, witnesses claimed he had last been seen with a group of men, one of whom bore a striking resemblance to my father in the old photo. My blood ran cold. Could it really be him? I printed the article and showed it to my older brother, hoping he would help me piece things together. But instead, he snatched the paper out of my hand, tore it to pieces, and said through clenched teeth, "You don't know what you're playing with. Stop before you ruin everything." His reaction only confirmed what I already suspected. They all knew. My entire family had been keeping this secret from me, but I wasn't going to stop. One night, when everyone was asleep, I went back to the attic. I searched through every corner until I found more hidden envelopes tucked into the lining of the box. Inside were coded notes, phrases that looked like instructions, dates that matched unsolved crimes, and even a map with markings in places I recognized from my childhood. The most shocking discovery was a faded photograph of a woman I had never seen before. She stood beside my father, her hand resting on his arm, and the way they looked at each other. It wasn't casual. On the back of the photo, a single word was written in my father's handwriting: forgive. Who was she? What had she to do with my father's past? And why had she disappeared from his life completely? The more I dug, the more dangerous it felt. I began to notice a black car parked near our house more often than usual. At first, I thought it was just coincidence, but the same car appeared. Outside my work, outside the cafe I visited, even once near the library where I had been researching. Was I being watched? I tried to bring it up to my mother again, but she broke down in tears. "You don't understand," she whispered. "If you keep going, you'll put us all in danger. Please, for once in your life, listen." Danger. That word echoed in my head for days. It wasn't just about my father's past anymore. It was about the present. Whoever he had been, whatever he had done, those shadows hadn't gone away. They were still here, lurking, waiting. And as much as I wanted to stop, I couldn't. Because every new clue made one thing clear: my father's dark past was not just his story. It was the reason my life, my family, everything around me was the way it was. And I needed to know the whole truth. The final piece of the puzzle came to me unexpectedly. While going through one of the coded notes again, I realized it wasn't just random writing. It was a date and a location. A place just outside the city, an abandoned warehouse long forgotten. I went there alone. The building was falling apart, its walls covered in graffiti, windows shattered. But inside, hidden beneath the rubble, I found a metal box. Inside were documents, photographs, and a gun, proof that my father had once lived a life tied to violence, betrayal, and people far more dangerous than I could imagine. That night, I confronted him for the last time. I placed the box in front of him and asked, "Is this who you really are?" His shoulders sank. He looked older than I had ever seen him, as if the weight of his past had finally caught up with him. "I did things I can never take back," he whispered. "I thought leaving that world behind would save us. But the truth, it always finds its way back." For the first time, I saw tears in his eyes. My father, the man I thought I knew, was both the protector of our family and the very danger we had been running from all along, and in that moment I understood. Knowing the truth didn't set me free. It only chained me to the darkness he had tried so hard to bury. That was the end of my search. Not with justice, not with peace, but with the heavy burden of a truth too dark to forget. And so, our story comes to an end today. But in the world of Max Fables, every tale carries a lesson and leaves an impact. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you won't miss our upcoming tales. Here, where stories come to life.